Greetings, everybody, and welcome back to the Ashes of Creation discussion round, the longest running podcast for Ashes of Creation. We took a little bit of a break because we wanted to wait for this last live stream, and we got a bunch of stuff to talk about.
Loads to talk about.
Yep. So we should get right into it, I would say. Test. Yeah. Audio levels are good. Faceless. Okay, Faceless here as well. So yeah, we're good to go. So who wants to start us off?
Live stream.
Stream.
That's the big topic, the thing everyone's talking about right now. The live stream, the combat update. General idea, general thoughts before we actually get started to the nitty gritty. What everyone think about it? Stackerson, do you like it? Did you not?
Oh
like
yeah,
it?
I loved it. It was awesome. Giant greatsword. I can't wait to try it out.
Faisal, what'd you think about it?
I thought it was the step towards the right direction.
BCG.
Looked good. Looked really good.
I also really enjoyed it. It was fucking great. Everyone I think there's some controversy about it. I think we're gonna get into that.
What
But
controversy? I want to talk about
that. People are annoyed that they didn't show any tab or that it's not the hybrid combat. People think that the controversy on the Discord and the forums is that they think the game is going full action, and people are annoyed that they didn't show the tab/hybrid combat, and that is something that's been blowing up on the forums.
All right. I mean, I just looked at the live stream, I think yesterday and today. So what we saw looked good. I'm just interested to see how it will look like large scale, and how it will work for casters. That's what I'm interested in. Like, for me, it looked really hack and slash style. So
I think the casters are the ones that are kind of more vocal right now, just because some people are wanting. Some people are saying that the game still feels floaty. Some people want there to be like more.
But okay. Here's the thing about the floatiness. It's like they're going to choose either full floaty or not floaty. And Steven also addressed this on stream. Like, he did say that there was a controversy between those two styles of combat, and they're trying to find the middle ground between those two. So it doesn't feel like I can feel the floatiness a bit, but it's not as drastic as it once was. If that makes sense.
it looks a lot like Black Desert Online.
A lot of people are comparing it to different things. People are comparing it to BDO. People are comparing it to fucking ESO. People are comparing it to fucking Guild Wars 2, shit like that.
No, I wouldn't say Guild Wars 2.
I mean, people are comparing it to fucking everything right now.
I mean, honestly, it looks good, right? But I'm still in the camp of saying, honestly, combat isn't the most important thing in an MMORPG. I know there's a lot of people that disagree with me, but honestly, I don't care. Because there are way more important things, in my opinion, that go into an MMORPG. If the combat is somewhat decent, and most of the time just normal tab is somewhat decent, if the rest of your game is good, then your game is good.
I don't think combat's as important as most people think, but I think it's a very large marriage of things that make a good MMO. If combat's shit, then people don't want to play. Like, people prefer action, people prefer tab, people prefer yada yada yada. But like, if combat can be a heavy weight towards a game's one direction or another. Like, it's not the only thing. I still do believe like lore, a bunch of the other systems the game has, like crafting the economy, stuff shit like that. Like if all that stuff isn't like also working, then like I said, MMOs are a large marriage of things, and combat's one of those.
But like I said, like
Thing is this game has nothing is established about it. It's one thing if it's like it's an established IP, but there isn't anything. It's a new game. The first thing people are going to experience is the combat. So if people get bored early on because they don't find the combat fun, they're not going to stick around for the lore or the crafting or those other things. Like maybe the community is able to still grow and it can overcome it, but when you don't have anything tying people to the game besides the hype, you need
And a lot of
I mean,
I'm with Stackerson.
I get that part, but I still say, like, look at, for example, Black Desert Online. Apparently, Black Desert Online has great combat. Black Desert Online, for me, is one of the most shit MMORPGs ever created.
Yet it's still doing really good.
Yeah.
It's still doing really well.
Because of the combat. Like, that's the thing.
Because-
Is
Yeah, but
you are proving your point wrong. Like,
No, I'm not, because I haven't
the
finished
game
talking.
isn't that good, but a lot of people play it. It's one of the most popular
Okay.
MMOs, probably purely because of the combat.
Okay, you said MMO. You said MMO, not MMORPG. I played Black Desert Online for 4.5 years. Till this day, I don't know what the fucking story is.
I do. I've played
Yeah,
the game.
how does anyone not know what the story in video is?
I don't even pay attention to the cutscenes that much. And I know what the fucking story. But like, so here's the thing: is like I'm with Staggerson on this too, because like also the fact like a lot of the things that they're promoting with the game, like a lot of things that like drive people towards the game, rely heavily on the combat. Like people are looking for at the game for like raiders are going to the game because they promised hard raiding and open world raids, instant raids, stuff like that. People are going to the game because of the castle sieges, caravans, stuff like that. No one like Steven's keeping the lore close to his chest. No one really knows unless you're a fucking lore whore like me, like you haven't been paying attention to the fucking live streams. You're not going on the fucking Discord. You're not going on the forums. Go ahead, Stackers. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, even if people knew the lore, it's not like you have any tie to it, or I don't know the term, but it's a new universe. I guess that's the easiest way to say it. People have no like emotional tie, even if like I don't know if there's anything the lore could do that like all of a sudden anyone who likes lore would love. Lore is kind of one of those things that like helps, but you need another reason to care about it besides just like the lore being like good.
So combat would be one of the reasons people care about it.
I think combat more as like, well, combat's just like a major part of a game. Like it's one of the main ways you interact with the game. But also it's that thing that is going to be there as you're introduced to everything else in the game.
All right.
I agree/disagree in a way. Like I do agree that combat is important, but I do not believe it's a gateway for the other experiences. If that makes sense. I don't think you're able to compare combat to lore. That's just I don't know. I don't see how that could work. Because they're just compared extremely differently.
I guess I'm not sure what you mean by that.
What do you mean, Staxon?
Like, what do you mean you can't compare combat to lore?
Like,
a lot of combat people will ignore lore entirely.
Exactly. So if you take that into account, that they would just ignore lore to begin with, like how are you comparing it to the lore?
No, I'm not necessarily comparing it to the lore. I'm just saying like people have no connection to the lore when they're first playing the game. Like for example, a game like Final Fantasy, Star Wars, WoW. People had an attachment to the lore. There was lore established. People knew what it was. Going into those games, they had more of a reason to care about the lore. Going into Ashes, people are going to have no reason to care about the lore. It's going to be something they experience as they play the game. that thing that's going to be with them as
Okay.
they play the game is the combat.
Okay.
I think lore sets a framework. I think combat people downgrade lore a whole hell of a lot. People skip through it a whole hell of a lot, but they also downgrade it to understand like it provides a framework for the game. Like if the game doesn't have even the game needs a story of some kind, lore of some kind to provide that framework, and then combat's how you go through the game and experience that framework. You'll experience the game's lore through osmosis of some degree, even if you're ignoring most of the story, most of the little bits. But you'll probably get a general idea of like, oh, I go to castle, save princess, kind of thing. But yeah, I think we're talking. I think we still we're doing a lot more lore talk than combat on a combat discussion.
I guess
Somehow it reminds me a little bit of Crowfall.
Oh, I've heard that a lot too. People say like it's reminded them of Crowfall. I didn't mind. I liked Crowfall combat.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad.
I mean, Crowfall kind of went through the same stuff they did, where they started with root motion, and it kind of was brutal, and so they kind of transitioned to what they have now, where it's more free.
The thing that just worries me if it's like Crowfall, because Crowfall had a lot of networking issues when it came to large-scale PvP.
Crowfall had a lot of issues in its entirety. That's why it's not doing like so hot nowadays. And
Like that's
yeah, it did.
something that
I think they've managed to fix. Oh, I granted, we'll have to wait and see how Alpha 2 goes and see like what all these new effects and what all this combat feels like when there's a lot more people on there. But like they've worked on network since like the very beginning.
This combat is using the same networking that we had in
Yeah.
Alpha 1. There's nothing different. It's just how it functions is a little different. Instead of root motion, you're able to freely move. So the way the network processes it has not changed.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's like what I'm like a little bit looking forward to, is seeing 500 versus 500 or 200 versus 200 with the new combat system.
I mean, they haven't really talked about network at all for a couple of months now.
No, but like I think we've moved on from network. So network was all we were basically working on and talking about for the last 5 years of Asher Creation's life. So since APOC first came out to the Alpha 1, it was all about the network and like is the game gonna be and then everyone saw like Alpha 1 was stable. Everyone liked how Alpha 1 was going. They saw that we could get a lot of people inside an area playing the game, stuff like that. I think people were happy with the way the network was going. I think we're done with the network talk. I don't think we're done with the network talk, but I think everyone was satisfied with the network. And I think right now we're going towards the other aspects of the game that everyone's like.
Satisfied is a strong word.
They changed the combat numbers.
It did, like, it was satisfactory in terms of, it's gotten better, yes, but we've still said that it requires a lot of work.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
But
Like I said, it looks good. I'm pretty sure it feels good as well. I just need to see it like large scale. That's the thing.
What do you guys think about the greatsword and the dagger? Because those are the two we saw.
I mean, I love the greatsword. I can't wait to use it.
A lot of people,
Greatswords are my weapon.
A lot of people love the greatsword. I didn't hear a whole hell of a lot of complaints from the greatsword. It was the daggers that I heard the most kind of like criticism about.
Like
what were people complaining about that?
Too fast, I assume.
Well, it wasn't. It was too fast. It was like you stopped every so often. People didn't like the stopping. People didn't like the. People said it felt janky. You didn't really see much of like the skills that he used the greatsword a whole hell of a lot more, and you didn't really get to see very much of the daggers that much.
Yeah.
I mean, I
mean-
think it's just a first impression type of thing because we're so used to seeing wands, halberds, great swords, and certain weapons. When they saw the 2 daggers, it was like, huh, this is new. I think it's mostly that, but hey, I might be wrong.
It also doesn't help that we weren't really seeing a lot of abilities, and I mean the combat. This is only just the auto attack, or not the auto attack, but your basic attack. You'll have a bunch of abilities, which will contribute heavily to combat. So
Hmm.
The effects, the new monster type that we saw, the golem.
Yeah. I thought that was clever. They were trying to lore explain spawning animals into the environment to save on network.
I liked the spawn animation for the golem where it just like it rises out of the ground.
Mhm.
Yeah,
The ship.
I love that.
What I'm wondering right now, the ship that we see in the background,
Uh-huh.
is that a player ship?
I think
Or-
it's scripted. I don't think it's a player ship. I think it makes turns around that same area.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering if that's like a ship we can use later on.
I assume it is.
Do
I
you
think they're definitely
think,
working on the naval side of things. I don't know. We haven't seen anything naval related for a while. We've heard talk about it, but like we haven't seen anything naval related for a while. So
Potato Chip asks, do you think they are waiting to set up the motion capture room for animations?
I mean,
They're already doing animations.
yes.
Maybe for
I-
cutscenes and stuff?
I don't remember what I'm allowed to talk about, what I'm not allowed to talk about. So I'm not going to say anything.
Then why bring it up, Yokai?
PI is still so useless.
God damn
Yeah,
it,
like
Yokai.
I would really like to see like how range attacks work with this new combat. And how mobility works.
Ranged attack. I mean,
I mean,
ranged as a whole, that's like one of the catalysts that I'm worried about.
yeah.
Because the only ranged we've seen we've seen ranged in Alpha 1 and it was not the greatest. It was broken.
And you
what-
couldn't even use the bow for most of the test. The bow broke.
Yeah,
crashed
bow
your
was
game.
disabled.
The bow was disabled and if you got a bow, like it crashed your game. Margaret and the team was sending out notifications saying, like, "Hey, don't use the bow right now."
Yep.
No, like I want to know like how like mobility works for, let's say, like a mage. Right? How does the mobility work for a mage? Does he like constantly have to stop moving if he wants to cast something?
I
They
think
had
it's going to be
talked
like
about-
the fireball. Remember how people weren't liking the stand in place fireball, so they changed it
Yeah.
so it kind of like half snares you. And
Yeah.
I imagine it'll just depend on the spell. From the beginning, they said that they wanted to keep casting mobile, so
Yeah.
I imagine it'll be something where depending on the spell, you will be like slowed down. Like a fireball, you might get half speed. There might be other spells that snares you less, and some spells that snare you more.
But
There's
like
like a balancing act with that too, though.
yeah. I was about to say that as well. And like I can imagine if someone wanted to cast Meteor, why is he casting it on the go?
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
mean meteor, you'd probably stand still.
Yeah.
Yeah, mages have always been a gigantic balancing act. People don't like them because like they're super strong, and if you give them and people in games generally give them like a bunch of mobility. Oh, they can blink away, they can do all this other stuff.
But
And
like
they
the
just
matter with mages, that's like it's only like you're able to tweak it. You know?
Yeah.
But like ranged and other things that they're still working on. Those are like worrisome type of tweaks.
I need to see dot classes. That's the thing. I need dot classes.
Doc classes.
Yeah, I need dots.
it
Also one of
bleeds,
the
poisons, stuff like that.
That's also the
Burns.
reason why I'm going back to World of Warcraft.
Mm.
Anything else on the live stream? Like I saw that whole monster 3D render. Looked pretty cool.
Yeah, the siege thing.
Was it a siege thing?
I think
Well, it's not necessarily it. He said the lore of it was when the ancients came, they brought that thing or those things
Yeah.
and used them to siege down cities.
All right.
Yep.
And I assume the lore is that thing was kind of just left on Vera. Just here's a siege engine, just living in the desert,
Mhm.
as they do.
Someone fell and accidentally activated it after they left, so it's fine.
Be interesting if we have stuff like that for
For what?
our own sieges.
I mean, we have siege golems, so
we have a bunch of they talk about siege animals or some siege summons, stuff
Yeah,
like that. They've
I'm-
talked about that in the past.
I'm pretty sure warlocks can summon some sort of demon.
What's the warlock combo again?
And it's basically any summoner, any summoner combo. Like you get 8 summoners together, and they talk about this having like 8 of any of the classes, any of the primary classes. They'll perform like a special action. So 8 summoners
and
will
make summon,
perform a
like,
gigantic summon. Well, from a gigantic summon that'll make a siege golem, siege summon. You get 8
So
tanks together. They're supposed to perform a
Mage
gigantic
Summoner's
siege.
the warlock.
The thing. Like, I just wonder, like, with that type of combat, like, I'm trying to imagine large scale PvP, right, and the player collision and everything. You're gonna need a hell of a computer to run this.
People have already been saying that. People have been saying that since they switched over to
Player collision, that's handled by the network. Mostly.
Yeah, but still, like, your clients will need to render everything.
Well,
in
yeah, but that
time.
doesn't have anything to do with collision. It's just rendering.
No, I'm just saying. Which game was it that did it? I don't know. One game did it that because there wasn't any collision or anything, they had some. I think Guild Wars 2 does it the way they do the rendering in large scale PvP. I kind of like the blocking animation, to be honest.
Wait, there's a blocking animation?
Yeah, where he hold the sword, and I think he also did with the daggers.
there's blocks and dodges, active blocking.
The cloak is still. I think is the cloak working properly?
The cloth.
It's
Yeah, the
very
cloth.
floaty and it clips through you, but it does interact with like the environment. And people were commenting on that and liking it, but like people were also commenting on like, during a bunch of the dagger movements, especially like it was clipping through a whole hell of a lot.
What's it called? I mean, the cloak, they haven't changed that since what? APOC days. If you had the cloak, it always stayed at a certain position. Half of the cloak stays where it is, while the other half it just free moves as it wants.
Yeah.
Did they say anything? Because now we have dual wielding. Did they say anything about dual wielding axes, dual wielding other weapons, or just the
I think
They've
that's
daggers?
always
talked-
been a thing.
Yeah, that's always been a thing. So since so in alpha since Kickstarters when they first revealed the classes, they had said fighter was the dual wielding class, and supposedly the class that he had said that in the live stream, I think that the class he's playing in the live stream is weapon master,
Weapon master,
fighter combo. I don't know. It's been said that fighter will be the dual weapon class. They'll be able to dual wield weapons in each hand, axe, sword, dagger kind of thing. I don't know if that's still the case or not, but we've known about dual wielding since the very beginning.
Right. But they haven't. I just skipped through the live stream. They haven't said anything regarding the missing classes or any.
No.
No. Okay.
They just said people were asking like what the class was that was being played, and I think they said it was weapon master.
Did they say anything regards hiring? Did they get any new hires?
They
Yeah.
did not. Did they say anything about hiring?
I don't know.
I know they've been talking. I know
Alright.
they talk about hiring all the time and stuff like that. I don't remember but hiring being a topic or any names being listed off during the live stream though.
Mm.
All right.
They always talk about hiring though, and I don't think they list off names anymore because they haven't listed off names since before Alpha 1.
Oh yeah, when they started getting people sniped.
Yeah.
Yep.
They stopped listing names on their website and stuff like that. People still follow like the LinkedIn and follow like, oh, this person's being hired, and they'll follow like the Ashley Creation job page to know which positions are being filled. Like you can you're following the project super hard. I mean super hard. You're following it relatively hard. You can kind of keep up with what positions are being filled and who's being hired on.
Hildox in chat just said they accepted 14 people.
Okay.
That's a good number.
Yeah.
Anything else regarding the live stream you guys want to talk about? You okay? You got anything for us?
Yeah, that was the meat of it.
I'm a little bit.
That wa-
I'm a little bit out of the loop. I'll be honest, and I do apologize. But real life has been keeping me busy.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, I think there's nothing else really to talk about besides combat.
I mean, if you want to talk more about the fucking controversy, I mean, like the skill right there that was just on the stream, the fucking light hammer
Yeah.
thing. We saw some skills during this thing. Light hammer thing really strikes me as a cleric skill. I don't really see that. I think that like he says it's weapon master, but I think he's just using random skills. Like during the weather effect thing, he was
You see
using
that
They're
that.
just
as
skills. They can give the
cleric?
skills to whoever. It doesn't.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is like
Yeah.
I think they're just using up a whole bunch of skills. That really strikes me as a cleric skill. Some people were like, why is it a giant hammer when he's using a great sword? It should be a sword, a giant light sword instead of that.
I thought that, never said it, but I was like, I want it to be a giant sword.
Yeah.
This is the
I-
same. Quick question.
Yeah.
The area they're fighting in, or whoever's playing right now in the live stream, that's the same area where they did the season thing, right? They just added the rocks.
It's supposed to be the Riverlands. Is supposed to be the biome that they're currently working on. So I think it's in the same general area. Yeah.
Because the tower and the islands are all the same.
Yeah.
And the boats.
But hey, they changed the combat numbers.
I guess we could talk about the combat text because yeah, that was another thing they're showing off. I think
Yeah,
they
I'm
look-
gonna.
A lot of people were asking questions about the UI and stuff like that. A lot of people were happy with like the damage numbers being shown on screen, but everyone was kind of like, "Where's the UI? Where's the UI? What's up with the UI?"
Yeah, what's up with the UI?
They had talked about that too. They want to provide people extreme customization when it comes to UI.
Yeah, well, we know that. We know that.
Yeah.
I wonder what that entails. Like what sort of customization option do we get?
If you can just like move a lot of stuff, there have been games that say that like extreme customization that have made it where you can move everything around on your screen, and there have been some where like you can download templates and like make it to where like your UI is 100% customizable, like however you want it to look. If you wanted a Guild Wars 2 looking UI or a Diablo looking UI, you can download a template and so like use that kind of thing. I don't know what they 100% mean by a customizable UI.
That would be interesting to know.
Yeah.
Because I had a WoW interface that took me like years to put together. So
at least this time, since it's
Yeah,
there,
you can use it.
don't have to worry about logging on after a patch and all your add-ons being old and resetting up your interface.
They have said
Yeah.
they don't want to do add-ons. I don't 100% see that happening. Games always like even ones that don't support add-ons generally have add-ons of some kind. So
I had an interesting conversation with somebody the other day. It has to do with DPS meters. And they were talking about it, and I brought up the example of Final Fantasy and Guild Wars 2 that don't support add-ons, but they still have third-party add-ons.
Guild Wars 2 has an open API. Guild Wars 2 100% supports add-ons.
It does? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I thought, no, wait. Really? When did they change that? Because I remember back in the day
It's
when
been
Guild
for a
Wars
while, I
2
thought.
when Guild Wars 2
For
first
several
came,
years now.
when Guild Wars 2 first came out, they said on the website they don't allow add-ons and all that stuff. But
They
anyway,
switched over to an open API.
okay, anyways, the point is, well, what about Final Fantasy?
Final Fantasy
Out.
still does not support them.
Yeah, Final Fantasy doesn't
Apparently,
support
they've been
add-ons.
cracking down on them too now.
But
Yeah.
Originally, it was like
They are anti-add-on and
don't ask, don't
anti-bot.
tell.
But
you
Tell-
still had third-party add-ons.
yeah,
DPS
every game
meters,
has still had third-party add-ons. Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing is that I find interesting is that some people still believe this is not going to be the case, and if it's not the case, that's good. I'm not like trying to talk up DPS meters. I'm just trying to keep it realistic to a certain degree, because unless they change the way combat text and everything works, I don't think they're gonna be able to prevent third-party add-ons.
No, you're no like you can a company can take a stance against third-party add-ons, but you can't really stop it. People are gonna make them, and people are gonna be able to. People are gonna find a way to use them.
I mean, they could stop them if they somehow prevent like combat logs.
But if you have
yeah.
combat logs of any kind, you're gonna people are gonna be able to use them. And people that are saying that they want to provide combat logs so no one uses the has a reason to use third-party add-ons, but the providing combat logs provide people with the means to make third-party add-ons. So the more kind of like stay like the more you try to make it where people like don't need add-ons, the more open you make it to where like people can use add-ons, kind of thing. So it's a double-edged sword, and you're kind of yeah, it's just a kind of double-edged sword kind of thing.
So how could they prevent third-party add-ons in your opinion?
You can't prevent them. I think the
Yeah.
thing you do is you just say no add-ons. You make it a bannable offense, and so even if people use them, they like keep it to themselves. Because
Yeah.
half the issue they have with them is just like the toxicity around them. So if you say like you can get banned for using them, people shut up if they're using them, and that shouldn't be as much of an issue.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can't stop them. You have to take a stance against them, and then if people find them, then there's no way to stop them.
I mean, I think like I don't know.
Say it,
Like
finish your
we need to
sentence.
understand the essence of why people use add-ons to begin with.
I mean,
And
there's
that really depends on the game that they use.
I mean, there's the right way
or
and the
play.
wrong way to use add-ons.
Examples?
I always say that the way my old WoW guild used them was the right way. As soon as new content, raid content, and that's the only place we really used them. That was way before Mythic. That was like Wrath of the Lich King. New content drops, and we go into the raid and we see what works, what doesn't work, and then within the first ID we optimize. That's like when you have 7-day raid days, and we optimize our damage output, healing output. And then as soon as we clear content or somebody beat us to server first, most of us never really used DPS meters till the next raid content dropped.
DPS meters can be a double-edged sword kind of thing. People like to use them to like say like, how can I improve kind of thing, but people also use them to say like, as soon as they see someone lacking in a fight or something like that, or don't think that they're pulling their weight, or like whatever the thought process there is, they're also like immediately toxic towards the person that isn't performing the way that they want.
You see, here's my thing, right? Here's my thing. I get the argument in regards to DPS.
Zimpy, we do not have a date for Alpha 2.
No, we do not. I get the argument that some people make against DPS meters. Staggerson, go a little bit to your right. There you go. A little bit to your left. There you go. Perfect. So pretty.
I haven't updated yet, so I don't know where I am.
No, I get the argument. Okay, DPS meters, they cause toxicity and all that stuff. But here's my counter argument. I've been in WoW raids where it was just a farm rate, right? We cleared the content and we didn't really look at DPS meters, and then we had new people with us.
Uh-huh.
And easy boss fights took forever, right? And then one of us turned on the DPS meters, and it turned out that the new guys, the new DPS players, they were doing like 25% of the damage they should be. Right?
Uh-huh.
Right? And then it just turned out, and a bunch of times this happens, that people didn't really play, they were just like clicking the skills. So it also, in group content, I find DPS meters help when it comes to sorting out who wants to get carried and who doesn't want to get carried.
Yeah, but then you have people that take that to the toxic level. I'm
Yeah.
like the people that take that to a civilized manner of like ways to improve yourself, or like say like, hey, you're not really a good fit for this thing. We're trying to push this content kind of thing. Is a minority. Most people look at it in a toxic, take it to a toxic level extremely fast.
The problem, and I always said this, the problem is not DPS meters. The problem is not the software. The problem is the people that use the software.
Yeah, that's 100% the problem. Like that's 100% the problem.
Like you're not
the people that use the software.
You're not gonna prevent toxic people from being toxic. The average player uses DPS meters for ego, but some players use it to optimize. But I say they are the minority. Exactly, Greek. Exactly, I agree.
Yeah, that's exactly what everyone's been saying this entire. Yeah.
Do the world is totally open world with 0 loading screens? Yes, Zinpi. It's a complete open world, no loading screens. Okay, that's an instance. Yeah. That's why I'm saying like if they would somehow implement a way to have DPS meters, like a fair way, like not have your DPS meters all the time, because I can have a DPS meter without any software. I know how to do it. I did it way back in the day when you just record yourself for 1 minute and then you just add up the numbers.
If they want to make it a feature, technically they could implement it in military nodes. Plop what's it called? Like figures in the arena, and it shows you how much damage that you do or DPS that you do.
So like you allow people to do like a fucking a scarecrow thing, like the training dummy thing. If people do the training dummy thing, you have it pop up in your chat saying how much damage you're doing. People are gonna find a way to convert that to a DPS meter that's gonna be active like at all points in time. There's no way to prevent people from making a DPS meter.
Oh no, gee.
I mean,
people are weird.
You can make in-game DPS meters that allow you to say like, hey, I'm improving. This is how I do my big dick damage kind of thing.
Here's the thing.
But people are gonna take that to the extreme and want that active, like, hey, am I is this doing that? People don't want to go constantly keep going back to the training arena for one, every time, because like they're always placed somewhere random. You have to go there. Most people want to go out, be able to equip something new, go out, fight a whole bunch of trash mobs, and say like, "Hey, I'm doing better damage now than I was 5 minutes ago."
They could just remove combat numbers and combat logs altogether.
You would probably make people want DPS meters more.
You gotta have DPS meters, and I can look for and the reason why I know that is for what we just discussed, and also there was a post on Reddit somewhere where somebody actually already wrote a combat DPS meter for freaking APOC.
Well, yeah, 100%. Like 1-1 APOC wasn't that hard to fucking break for one, and number two, like we've already discussed this. I think everyone's on the same page. Like you can't prevent DPS meters from being a thing. They're gonna be a thing. You can be against them, but the masses, players are gonna make them. The people that are gonna want them are gonna find a way to make them. You're never gonna 100%.
Did Black Desert Online have DPS meters? I don't remember.
No. Also has no reason to really have them though.
I'm gonna check that real quick.
But there's other third party things too. Like say you have like an ESO type Tamriel Trading Center thing, or or other games have something similar to that too, to where like you're gonna have people tracking what's being sold in what node, and say like instead of having to go to that node and see everything, they're gonna just go to the website, type in like, "Hey, I'm looking for this," and know which node it's being sold in and how much it's being sold for, and then they could just travel there and buy it.
I don't think that's an issue though. If people are still having to travel.
Yeah. Like people could buy it before he can.
There's still like
If
a
a
convenience
lot of people
aspect
use
of.
it.
I'm just saying there are other forms of third-party programs that people are probably going to want to look at making and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm just
So if they're taking the stance against third-party programs, I'm just saying like look at other things besides just DPS meters,
yeah,
because we've been talking a lot about DPS meters.
I know, I'm just like I'm always like curious, and all that's why when I see somebody talk about this, I always try to understand their logic or train of thought, because there are people out there that believe full-heartedly that Ashes Creation will never ever have DPS meters. Like I'm not trying to make fun about them or call them stupid. I'm just trying to understand how they get to that conclusion.
Because there's a lot of white knights out there for the game,
Oh,
and
hell yeah.
that take everything that Steven and Margaret say and say like this is gospel, this is fact, this is gonna happen. You can't stop third-party programs from being a thing.
I mean, but like, I think there's a difference between when a dev is saying that, oh yes, we will implement third-party apps, and what's it called? A difference between when they say no, we don't want it.
Yeah, we don't want it, but we're not preventing it.
Like them not intentionally
Well,
putting it. I think that's their stance.
We're not talking about the devs right now. We know what stance the devs are taking. We're
Yeah,
talking about people that are in the mindset of, oh, this is never going to happen because the devs say it's never going to happen.
You understand the difference? Like if if a
okay.
dev would say,
them being stubborn about the possibility.
exactly,
basically.
if a dev would
Yeah.
say we will prevent DPS meters in our game, that would be one thing. But as far as I know, Intrepid, especially Steven, always only have stated we do not support add-ons, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's more or less
Yeah.
the way to take it.
Add-ons are slippery slope because you end up like WoW, where you have communities, which is unhealthy for the game. Why Final Fantasy just bans them for being talked about or used, which makes it a healthy game. I mean, yeah, I would be okay with people getting banned for using DPS meters when they get caught using them. I would be okay with that.
It's
Yeah.
not even
no,
DPS
you're not
meters.
supposed to use third-party programs for stuff like that. So yeah, if you get caught using them.
So I think what he's talking about more is like, so with WoW and game, like other games that like provide the third-party programs like ESO and stuff like that. Those third-party like a lot of third-party programs become a necessity to play the game. If you're not downloading these third-party programs and using them, you're not playing the game optimally. You're and stuff like that. They become a necessity to play the game, and it becomes a toxic environment. It becomes bad for the gaming experience in general.
I think Ashes in general will not have the problem when it comes to DPS meters as WoW has, because I don't think the rating scene will be the same as in WoW. WoW rating scene is probably the most competitive rating scene on the planet.
The games that do suffer from that kind of experience are ones that like provide are more open to third-party programs being a thing, whereas with games that take a stance against them, they become less reliant on that. Like you're still going to get third-party programs, but they're not going to become an experience to where like I have to have the all these
DBM and all that bullshit.
I have to have all these programs. Yeah, I have to have all these programs to be able to play the game efficiently.
The problem that I just see with them not finding a way to prevent, you know how they always say they're not really a fan of meta builds?
Yeah.
I think Jeff once said it, that if they notice a meta, they can change it by just changing a couple numbers.
Mm-hmm.
if they don't prevent DPS meters, even third-party DPS meters, you're gonna have metas one way or another. You're gonna
You're
have
gonna have
metas.
metas one way, or you're gonna have metas one way or another anyway. I've
Yeah.
always been in favor of adding more to combat, like how like adding fire damage, adding elemental damage types, and like fire damage, ice damage, stuff like that, and then also slashing, crushing, and piercing damage
Yeah.
types. So you diversify combat to where there's more meta. Like there's like a meta can be counter meted a lot easier. So like if fire damage becomes the big thing, you equip fire damage and you do like you equip fire resistance type stuff. If if fire resistance becomes a thing, you start equipping ice. You start equipping ice damage things, and like you're still even in arenas or stuff like that. You're never sure, 100% sure, like what you're gonna be up against, what you're gonna be facing. So a meta is never set in stone. I think the weather system also provides that too, in a way, because like your spells do different kinds of damage. Like say if it's a rainstorm, your thunder spells do more damage. If it's snowing, if it's wintertime, your ice spells do more damage. Like that stuff diversifies the meta, diversifies combat to the point where like I think it provides more to where a meta can't be set in stone.
There's more situations.
Yes.
I mean, a meta is gonna be. You're gonna have a meta one way or another.
You're gonna have an OP. You're gonna have the class that's the best class to play. I think that everyone wants to play Necromancer because it's the edgy, cool class. Like everyone wants to play Necromancer. Every time you talk to somebody new, like I'm thinking about playing Necromancer. But there's some merit behind playing a Summoner because pet classes are usually unbalanced in games. You never have a solid balance. They're either overpowered or they're underpowered. There's never a balanced pet class. So I think Summoner is a strong contender for, hey, this is going to be a meta class to play.
Freaking World of Warcraft Hunters is always overpowered.
Yeah, well, yeah, 100%. Like all pet classes in every game, you either have an extremely overpowered pet class or you have an extremely underpowered pet class. They're never balanced.
We haven't heard anything about Summoner or Bard, have we?
No, we're supposed to get them at some point in Alpha 2, but I think that's
Is it
what
going
they
to be
kind
at the start of Alpha 2, or is it going to be after? Do we know?
they've said we're getting them in Alpha 2. I don't know if we're getting them at release of Alpha 2 or what. Like I don't think that's been stated. I think people are expecting it. People hear, it's going to be in Alpha 2 and expect it to be in release, but Interpret hasn't said one way or the other. I think they're working on all the archetypes right now. If that's a consolation, I think that they're working on all the archetypes.
I don't want to see Tulnar at this point.
Everyone, like all the Tolnar fans, like that's the one race we haven't seen so far. I think they're going to update Imperium and I think they're going to update some of the older races. I think we're going to see a race update for some of them. But I think the next one you're going to probably see is Tolnar related because that's the only race we haven't seen yet.
When do you guys think Alpha 2 will drop?
Optimistically, earliest possible thing. In quarter 4 this year. If not, we probably get an announcement saying that'll probably be around quarter 1 of next year. That's the earliest optimistic response.
The end of this year.
End of this year, beginning of next year is like the earliest optimistic viewpoint.
Okay, and realistic?
I imagine we'll start talking about it at the end of this year, but I don't think it's actually going to show up until spring or summer next year.
Yeah, I think we'll probably get an announcement from Intrepid around the end of this year, but I think Sackerson's right. We'll probably won't see it until spring or summer of next year.
Basil, you got
I
this
agree
weird...
with Stackerson.
Okay. All right, then I'm going to say mine because then I'm going to sound like an asshole again, so I'm just going to shut up.
Well, what's yours?
Years.
You already said it. Now you got to say it.
I feel like I'm even being optimistic. There's a lot we haven't seen, but I think there's a lot that is easy for them to put out.
It's the most optimistic one. A more realistic answer.
Let me ask you this. What do we expect to have? Okay, no. Game release is 100%. 100%. How much do you think of a percentage would be in Alpha 2 when they release it.
There's a lot we still haven't seen that's been promised for
Yeah,
Alpha
just
2,
give me,
so
just
I
give me
don't
a
know.
number. Just hypothetical. Give me a number.
I couldn't say a percentage. I could just list off things we've been promised that I could expect to see, and then things we've listed off that we haven't seen yet. Like I
Because-
couldn't give you a percentage.
To me, like part of the problem is like a lot of the core systems we're probably going to see. It's just going to be
35
them
to
like
50%.
filling up those systems with content.
Okay, if we go,
that's going to be the time.
If we go with 35 to 50, then I would say sometime mid next year. Right? Anything higher than that, I think mid to late 2024.
You think 2 more years for Alpha 1, Alpha 2?
Yeah. And that would be Alpha 2 having like 80 to 90% of the finished game in it.
Yeah. If we're doing like almost if we're doing like almost a finished product, then yeah, probably.
But here's the thing: they could release Alpha 2
Gotcha.
within the next
Sorry.
year, and then just add over time.
Well, yeah, because like it's supposed to still be in development process. Like you're gonna release it, it's gonna be persistent, and then you still like develop it over the course of time. You're not. It's not like a finished product. It's not like an almost finished product type thing.
But here's the
You're
thing:
still making the game during that entire process.
here's the thing: if they would release Alpha 2 and then just take a couple more years.
I don't know if it's going to take like.
I'm still sticking.
The
with
thing is, it sounds like
2026.
they just have like. They have the core of a lot of the things they need done. It's
We
just
haven't-
like taking the time to make it all.
They have a good core in terms of a lot of the combat stuff done. Like we saw Castle Sieges, we saw node progression type stuff. There's some things we've been hearing about. We still like we're talking about a lot of naval stuff. We're seeing a lot. We're seeing like ships and stuff be in the background a lot more. People are excited about naval things. We still need to see some naval stuff go on. We haven't seen anything related to artisan classes. We haven't seen a working caravan, like a working updated version of a caravan, because like they were janky and like weren't exactly working well in Alpha 1.
Exactly.
That's
the thing. That's the thing. I'm still in the camp. I'm going based off what I'm seeing. I'm going based on what we've seen so far, even with the character creator, the season update, and now the combat upgrade. I still think we're a couple years out.
I don't think I think we're still a couple years out in terms of like release for the game. In terms of like an Alpha 2, I think we're closer than a couple years though, because you're like the Alpha 2 isn't released like a done product kind of thing.
Yeah, but still.
And the systems that were like the systems that
I mean,
we
Alpha
have
2,
seen is like majority of the big things of the game that people are looking at.
Alpha 2 should at least have the full world and everything.
No, that's not even what they're promised. Like the Alpha 2 was never supposed to be full world. They never promised full world.
So where's Alpha 2 gonna play in? If Alpha 2 is supposed to be persistent,
Not full world.
Is Alpha 2 not supposed to be persistent servers? Even after.
Yep, it is.
So
but that's late, much later. So like you're gonna have wipes and stuff over the course of Alpha 2 and the constant development updates, and after release, Alpha 2 servers transfer over to the PTR servers.
Yes.
But
okay, so Alpha 2 next week.
Alpha 2. I mean, they could release a fucking random ass product, label it Alpha 2, and then over development course do that kind of stuff if they wanted to, but I don't think they want to do that. They want to at least give you some of the stuff they've promised for Alpha 2.
Well,
they still want to get all the.
I'm gonna still stick with my dates. Do we have anything else to talk about?
We could. We only have like a minute left in the hour though, so like there's some background stuff for the live stream that if you were kind of catching that stuff, you could talk about the controversy of the people upset about tab versus action some more. You could talk about
let's do that then next time.
I don't know. I've been annoyed with that conversation because half the conversation isn't even about like actual tab combat. It's just things that people associate with tab combat.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the forums, like it's blowing up like how the whole consensual PvP versus non-consensual PvP fucking conversations blow up. It's
We should
those.
invite one of these forum guys on the podcast.
I'm one of those forum guys. I enjoy myself in there.
Oh yeah,
I-
We
Stackerson's
need
on
another
the,
you, Stackerson.
Stackerson's on the forums a lot. Like how you go,
Yeah,
I go over there to
I
forums.
know that. I've seen that. But every time I see like one of these conversations and when it's like 3-4 pages, I'm like, all right, I'm done.
No, sorry, I got like really annoyed with this last thing because like even people who are really hard tab are like, no, when I'm talking about tab, I'm not talking about the ability delivery system. And I'm like, then we're not talking about tab.
That's the problem with people talking about tab and people talking about action, because like action's a very broad term and no one like knows what the fuck they want when they say, hey, I want action combat. People can never like narrow down what the fuck they want. Same thing with like whenever that conversation comes up, people fucking nitpick everything and say like, oh, this is what I want.
Or that isn't really tab. Oh, it's action combat, but no, that's actually tab light.
Yeah.
Because it has similarities to other tab games I've played.
What is this? Am I in like a Coca-Cola store or something? Coke Light, Coke, normal, original Coke, Fanta
You're not
Coke.
wrong. You're not wrong. That analogy is not far off, Faisal. Like the varying different like you can do a lot with tab. Like you can stretch tab to be almost like almost an action hybrid. A lot of games have done that. They stretch what tab can do, but like
I'm too
and
old for
like there's
this.
a variety of different kinds of things when it comes to like there's hard action, there's soft action, there's tons of different types of these things, and so like that analogy is 100% accurate.
God damn.
I
It
argue.
turns out to be extremely subjective, and Ashes of should go with their gut at this point and doesn't give a shit.
I argue with
Yeah,
three
I'm with
strangers
you.
every 2 weeks. I don't have to argue with people in the forums.
I'm with you, Faisal. I want them to just follow the path they're on and like figure it out. There's certain things that people want. Try to get those things in the system and just get them. I think that you can make a combat system that people like that won't necessarily meet what they.
There was one comment that was like, they promised hybrid combat inside Kickstarter, and they're going back on their promise. I'm not gonna play. I'm not like it's a deal breaker for me. Like they should go hybrid combat and nothing else. Like they promise. No, dude, they promised like they said like, hey, we're gonna shoot for hybrid, but if we can't do that, we're probably gonna fall back on tab. They can change their mind at this point too. Like they can go full action if they feel like that's the direction the game needs to go.
That conversation takes me way back. The first live stream that they ever did. Yeah, if this doesn't work, this happens.
And then like the tab versus action people in the Discord have been going for years now, but after this, like now that we're actually seeing combat, people are like, this isn't hybrid combat, this isn't tab combat. Like they should be more tab. They shouldn't be action at all. And then the action people are like very vindicated right now. The action people are very much like, fuck it, go full action.
Go with the flow, man.
I don't know. It's annoying because like I think we can make a combat system. They can make a combat system that everyone likes, and it's going to be annoying though if it doesn't have like certain things. Like people are going to be.
I think that no matter what kind of combat system that they go with, it's going to feel right for the game. Like I haven't.
All right, let's continue this. Let's just continue this just next time, because otherwise we're never gonna get to the end.
But next time's the 5th anniversary of the podcast.
Yeah, we can talk about the freaking combat system for 5 hours the next time. I don't care. For everybody that is watching, little heads up. In 2 weeks on the what did we say, the 17th?
17th.
Yeah, so the 17th. Here's a little bit of information. On the 17th, me and this podcast, we're gonna have the 5-year anniversary of doing the Ashes Creation discussion round. Dude, I've been fucking doing this podcast for half a decade.
I'm actually more surprised that like Intrepid didn't do like a 5-year fucking anniversary kind of
Of the Kickstarter.
Yeah, the Kickstarter kind of thing. Like that would have been cool. That would have been cool to do. Like they should have
Yeah.
played off their own 5-year anniversary. I'm
Exactly.
more surprised that they didn't do that.
But anyways, we will be back in 2 weeks. We're gonna have a lot more people on. We're gonna do a lot of weird stuff. We might even do a longer podcast. We might even play some games, drink some beers. Faisal's gonna host.
What do you mean I'm gonna host?
You're gonna host. You're gonna be the main host. You're gonna be doing all the talking.
Oof. Oof.
Like literally, I don't know why anybody invites you to the podcast. All you do is sit there in your blanket and you just say something.
He's blanket man.
Exactly.
Okay. Anyways, everybody, thanks for watching, and we will be back in 2 weeks. So make sure to press that follow button and press the notification thing and do whatever you have to do. And we will be back in 2 weeks. Bye.
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 Kitty cat waving bye.